and welcome into the first off-season of the Ohio-only challenge here on Madden 23, where we are building a team entirely built off of players who played at a college from Ohio in Ohio and trying to win a Super Bowl. The first season did not go extremely well. We won 4 games, 4-13. We won the Ohio Bowl, beating the Browns both games, so there's that, but definite room to improve. And that might be a bit of a struggle in this one compared to Madden 22 with the new free agency, the new contract negotiations, because a lot of players, as we saw in the last episode, weren't very interested in coming back to us, even low overall guys, like low 60s. So we'll see what we're able to accomplish today. Either way, we need to field a 53-man roster, so we'll see how it goes. But let's start with a little positive here. Let's start with upgrading some players. And quite a few players to upgrade as well, so all good. Taylor Decker, we will start off with. He's one of our higher overall offensive linemen, but not sure exactly how long he will stick around, being a slightly older player. We'll get a +1 across the board. He will be turning 29 at the end of this season, so has some room to stay with the team and stay probably about similar overall. I don't think he would regress too much all too quickly. Pete Werner here gets a boost to coverage with 2-man and 2 awareness, which is always nice. Curious about his ratings. He does have a -5 morale now, so he's actually a 77, but with the way that we were playing, 72. Also have some upgrades for our other linebacker in Malik Harrison. You're going to see a lot of these players have some lower overalls due to morale. So he'll get some play rec, tackling, and block shedding. And he didn't see the field all too often the last year, just because we weren't really in base packages all too much. Jeremy Ruckert, though, he had a great year for us. Arguably should be involved in Rookie of the Year. Almost 1,000 yards and I think around 5 touchdowns as a rookie tight end. Did really great and got really nice boost here. Also run blocking too. Should help Zeke out a little bit, as long as we could keep Zeke on the team. He's definitely one who's up for the franchise tag this offseason. KJ Hill, for most of these younger guys, people 70 and under in terms of overall, just going to be focusing on what they're already good at in terms of upgrading. So like Cody Thompson here, he's a 67 playmaker. Our archetype is a deep threat, but we're just going to keep going with what they're already good at. And a good boost there too. +3 awareness and catching, and then some medium, short, and release. Not too bad. Tommy Doyle, another one here where pass protector is the archetype of choice for the team, but he's a power guy. Being 64, we're now 64 overall. That's just what we're going to run with. He'll get the +2 run block and +1 to strength. Pretty good too. Also has the run block power and pass block power going up. Isaiah Prince, he played a couple games for us last year due to injuries and didn't give up too many sacks, so some interesting kind of perks, I guess, there with getting +2 to pass block power. Run block goes up 1, strength and awareness. I mean, some good upgrades for him. He's not a high overall guy, but when he was out there, he played all right. And lastly, we'll have Andrew Norwell, and for him, we'll just go with that pass blocking archetype. Want to make sure that we could pass the ball, as we have some really good young receivers we need to get the ball. Now, Andrew Norwell definitely could regress this next year. He will be turning 31, so expect his overall to go down. But there's really not a whole lot we could do until we get to the end of the season. So let's get over to the Pro Bowl, see if any of our guys made it, and then time to move on to the offseason. Start with our closed negotiations and then to open free agency. And one last thing to do before we get to the Pro Bowl week is we need to make a change with our coordinators. We run a vertical zone run scheme on offense and a base 4-3. So I would like to get some coordinators that line up with that. So unfortunately for Marshawn Wallace and Ian Alexander, they will both be fired. but that does mean that we need to bring in some new coaches. So let's take a look at what we have available that fits what we're looking for. Again, looking for some vertical zone run, and we have Nick Gregory, who will bring in 59 points when hired for the coaching staff points. And what I do whenever I bring in coaches is that I will use their playbook. So his offensive playbook is Dan Campbell's or Detroit's. Now, if they don't actually run a vertical zone run, that will change. But I try to stick with the playbook that they bring in if it actually matches what the scheme is that they coach. So Nick Gregory is an option, and he's the only option. So Gregory will be our new offensive coordinator. Again, bringing in that vertical zone run, and possibly the Dan Campbell playbook. We'll need to check to make sure that that is correct with the scheme, but he is hired. As for our defense, we're looking for a base 4-3 defense. There's base 3-4, and there is a base 4-3 defensive coordinator in Josh Morton, who brings in the Stefanski Cleveland playbook. Again, we'll make sure that that is a base 4-3, but he so far is the only option. We'll see if there's anyone else. And there's not, so we will be bringing in Josh Morton. He will also be bringing in 56 points as he gets hired, which he is. So that leaves us with 231 points to spend this offseason, and we definitely need to be getting some of these XP gains, but I think more importantly is to upgrade our offensive and defensive coordinators so that we could try to get some boosts to some ratings that we think will be necessary for us. In terms of on the block here, we could get some impact block boost for either fullbacks or tight ends. I think tight ends might be a bit more important for us. We have to kind of choose what side. Run block power or run block finesse. We're a finesse team, so I feel like we'd be upgrading more of the finesse. So getting a boost to the power wouldn't be a bad idea. So I think we'll go with this right-hand side here. And we will start with the level 1s and then kind of go from there. Could we actually purchase the finesse? Oh, we can. Interesting. So it doesn't let us purchase the fullback boost, but we could get the run block finesse. I mean, if it's going to let me, I'll definitely take a boost to any sort of blocking that we can get. From there, boost pass blocking for tight ends. I don't really feel like they're going to be blocking all too much for us, but want to get down to the next level here, where we have boost impact blocking for receivers or awareness for offensive linemen. Got to go awareness for the offensive line for sure. But looks like we could choose both. So go ahead and get both. Help us get some blocking down the field. But most importantly, we need the boost in strength. Always a great one to go for. So we will start there and jump over to our defensive side where we already have some boosts. So we're already going down one side. So we will not be able to get a tackling boost for our linebackers, block shedding for our ends, pursuit for our D-line, or hit power for our ends. But we can get, or already have, the boost to tackling for our defensive linemen, block shedding for our DTs, which is a great one to have, pursuit for our linebackers, which is more fitting, as well as hit power for our DTs. So not too bad down the middle there. We'll go ahead and upgrade all of these up by 1. And then, of course, the big one again, upgrading the strength for our defensive line by 4. Really try to help us out, as we have a lot of edge rushers, that like outside linebackers, that we had to move to left end and right end with the base 4-3. So solid things to get there. Let's take a look at the other side, see what else we could get, as again already chosen. So we will not be getting any play rec for our safeties, pursuit for our safeties, catching for our safeties, stamina for our linebackers, or tackling for our corners. We will get tackling for safeties, stamina for all of our DBs, catching for the corners, which is nice, pursuit for corners, all right, and we already have the play rec for the corners. So let's go ahead and work our way down this line as well. And at the bottom, we have press. Definitely want to upgrade the press. We'll be doubling down at that. I really like press corners, so we'll be making sure we get that, which should really help out our defense. As for going back to the offense here, what can we go down? Obviously, we want to boost the injury rating, so we don't have as many guys getting injured. We could have 2 more upgrades. What side do we go down? Catching in traffic for receivers, carrying for running backs, stamina for receivers, or catching traffic for tight ends, carrying for quarterbacks, or stamina for your quarterbacks and running backs. Ritter does run a little bit, but I don't think we're going to have him run all too often. So I think we'll go with the left-hand side here. We'll get the boost for catching traffic for receivers and carrying for our running backs. And that is all the points we could spend here. And I forgot to mention it at the top of the episode, but if my voice sounds a little different today, that's because I was working the Seattle Sounder FC match yesterday. So it was a big game for us. We got a much needed win. We're still on the push for the playoffs, and knew who finally scored after, I think, 51 attempts. So lost my voice a little bit last night. So if it's a little scratchy, a little bit more bassy, that might be why. But let's take a look at the Pro Bowl rosters. And we'll just kind of go through, not necessarily separating each side, but just kind of run our way through. Quarterbacks, we're going to have Watson, Rodgers, and Heineke. Surprising. And Heineke was actually the backup for Ritter. We traded for Ritter, and then Heineke came in. So looks like that worked out well for, was it the Eagles that Ritter was on? I want to say it was maybe the Eagles. The other quarterbacks are Mahomes, Willis, and as well as Tannehill. So a little funny there. Both the Titans quarterbacks are Pro Bowlers. As for running backs, we have Mixon, Chubb, Kamara, Taylor, Henry, and Madison. Fullbacks, Blasingame and Ham, Juszczyk and Beck, pretty much the same guys that are always there. In terms of receivers, going to have Metcalf, Hardy, Gage, Duvernay, and Diggs. The other side will have Cup, Samuel, Sutton, Brown, and Kirk. So none of our guys. Oh, no, that was in the Cardinals franchise. So Rondale Moore and CeeDee Lamb also make it. Tight ends. How does our tight end not make it? We didn't get any love here. Pitts, Waller, and Kittle, Conklin, Ertz, and Tanyan. Feel like Ruckert should have made it there. Offensive linemen, Williams, Bakhtiari, Slater, Mailata. I don't know why I struggle with that. I know it's Mailata. It's one of those, maybe. Could be not either. Filer and Green for left guards, Petonio and Tooney. And then centers, we have Kelsey, Morris, Humphrey, and Lindsley. So Lindsley made it for us. There's something. Right guards, we have Teller and Scherf, Martin and Davis. Right tackles, Wirfs and Smith, Ramczyk, Collins. So we had one offensive lineman, only one guy on offense. Defense, left ends, Lawrence Jordan, J.J. Watt, and Chase Young, who we were not able to get, unfortunately. Davenport and Wilkins, Von Miller, and Myles Garrett for right ends. DT, Buckner, Clark, Williams, Jones, Cox, Payne. Again, none for us. Outside linebacker on the left-hand side, Gary, Crosby, Bosa, Ingram. So none for us there. And Jerome Baker does get in for the middle linebackers, as well as Edmonds, Kendricks, and Hightower. So we at least have one on both sides of the ball. Right outside linebacker, we have Smith, Mack, and Parsons. Corners are going to be White, Ramsey, Fulton, Slay Jr., Newsome, King, Diggs, and Lattimore. So again, didn't get Lattimore, another possible guy that we could bring in at some point. Free safeties, Kazee and Adderley, Williams, and Diggs. Strong safeties are going to be Smith, James Jr., Edmonds, and Garner Johnson. Kickers are Gano and York. Punters, Gillian and Gillikin. And kick returners, Chenault Jr., Joseph. Punt returners, Guyton and Ford. So we had one on each side. Feel like we got ripped off a little bit with Ruckert. He definitely should have been in the Pro Bowl, having almost 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end. Guys need some love there, but that's all we could do here. We'll jump on over to the next week, Super Bowl week, take a look at the bracket, and then get on into the offseason. Take a quick look and see who won the Super Bowl, obviously, but main thing for this whole episode is the offseason. Free agency, I think, will be difficult. And in Super Bowl week, take a quick look at how we got to the Super Bowl. Not we, but how other teams did. Over on the AFC, we have the number 2 seed Chiefs playing the 7th seed Ravens. Ravens destroy them 41-24. In the third versus sixth game, Steelers versus Chargers, and that was complete domination, 34-0. In the 4 and 5, we have the Patriots getting a victory over the Titans, 26-22. You can't really see that one because I'm over top of it. In the divisional round, 3 versus 5, Steelers get the victory, 24-16. The first round bye goes to the Dolphins, but they lose to the Ravens, 31-21. 7th seed beats the 1st seed. In the AFC Championship, the run of the 7th seed ends with the Steelers winning 35-17. Over on the NFC side, 2 versus 7. Again, 2 loses. The Saints beat the Cardinals 28-13. The third versus 6, Green Bay edges out a victory versus division rival Lions. Not even close. 21-17. In the 4 and 5, the Cowboys beat the Bucks 41-37 and move on to the divisional round against the Packers, who gets the victory 24-17. The Eagles, first round bye, also lose to the 7th seed 38-22. So first round bye teams did not play very well. In the NFC Championship, Packers get a slight victory, field goal win, 31-28. So the Super Bowl is the Green Bay Packers and the Steelers, probably the 2 teams that have the most fans around the United States, I feel like. So 3 versus 3 seed. That's a fun one. We'll see who wins after we take a look at the yearly awards. Your NFL MVP is Patrick Mahomes. Always. Coach of the Year goes to Nick Sirianni from the Eagles, they had the first round bye and then got destroyed by the 7th seed. So, yeah. Offensive Player of the Year for the AFC, Jonathan Taylor. Defensive Player of the Year, Von Miller. With Offensive Rookie of the Year, Malik Willis. He was in the Pro Bowl. And the Dolphins also had the first round bye but got beat. Quay Walker, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Best quarterback goes to Patty Mahomes. Running back, Jonathan Taylor. Cooper Kupp gets Best Receiver, with Ryan Kelly Best O-Lineman. Best Defensive Lineman, Von Miller, with Khalil Mack Best Linebacker. Those should both just be either line or linebackers. That should fix that. Marshawn Lattimore wins Best DB, with Chris Boswell being Best Kicker. For the NFC, Best Kicker is Will Lutz. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Deontay Hardy. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to DeForest Buckner. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Jahan Dotson. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Nakobe Dean. I'm pretty sure that's a linebacker out of Georgia, right? Pretty sure. Best Quarterback, Deshaun Watson. With Best Running Back, Joe Mixon. Best Receiver, Deontay Hardy. Best O-Line, Shaq Mason. Best D-Line, DeForest Buckner. Best Linebacker, TJ Watt. Darius Slade Jr. wins Best DB. And we already saw Best Kicker as Will Lutz. So for us, we had a 6th ranked Defensive Player of the Year with Jerome Baker. We did have quite a few Offensive Rookie of the Year runnings with Desmond Ridder, then Ruckert, then Chris Olave, then Garrett Wilson, all in the 3 to 6 spot. So had some promise. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of those, so not going to help us out a whole lot. Zeke Elliott was down at 7 for Best Running Back, and Jerome Baker down at 9 for Best Linebacker, which is weird because he was ranked higher for just Best Defensive Player of the Year, so weird. And Bradley Roby, who had several interceptions for us this year, was 8th for Best DB. And low overall, Sam Sloman was 6th for Best Kicker, so not too bad for him. But unfortunately for us, no hardware besides the fake Ohio Bowl trophy that we won, just to try to have some positive from year 1. But that is the end, so let's jump on over to the first week of the offseason. And here we could see that the Steelers walloped the Green Bay Packers 35-11. Love to see it. And we already saw who all the yearly awards were. The quarterback MVP, the Super Bowl MVP is quarterback Lamar Jackson. When we played against the Steelers, they destroyed us, so it makes sense. So unfortunately for us, that doesn't help us out, as I'm pretty sure Steelers and Bengals, same division. So, yeah, that's going to leave a tough mountain to climb, considering one of the teams in our division is currently sitting on top of said mountain. But now time to jump through here. We need to take a look at any retirees. We also have some other player upgrades. Will probably be for some practice squad players by the looks of it. Yes, indeed, they are all practice squad players. So I'll just auto update. Pretty sure that typically just updates their highest archetype rating. And as for retirements, this is actually my first time looking to see who would possibly retire after the first season. Andy Lee retires. Kareem Jackson retires. Deshaun Jackson retires. I said Andy Lee because he was in the Cardinals, so I know the name. Kareem Jackson, Deshaun Jackson. Tom Brady retires, maybe for real this time. Janoris Jenkins. Dwayne Brown retires, again, someone that we brought over in the Cardinals franchise. And Calais Campbell retires. Matt Prater also retired. So for our Cardinals franchise, looks like we might need some new kickers potentially. Tyson Alualu or Alualua. I never looked that one up, unfortunately, but he was in our California only challenge. Matt Ryan retires. Ndamukong Suh, Kyle Long, JPP, AJ Green, Chris Harris Jr., Bobby Massey, Danny Trevathan, Jason Peters, Devin McCourty, Case Keenum, Von Miller retires. Emmanuel Sanders, Trent Williams. There are some big names here that retire after one season here in Madden 23. A lot of the people that we grew up, or at least I grew up watching. I don't know how old you are. Adrian Peterson retires. Josh Johnson, the traveling quarterback. Also, how many of you knew that Rex Burkhead was still in the league? When I saw I think it was the Rams preseason game, I was like, did not know he was still playing. Carlos Hyde retires. Anyone else? Gerald McCoy retires. Prince Amukamara, Tavon Austin, and head coach Pete Carroll also retires. Interesting. So a lot of big name retirees. I don't think we had anyone from our roster retire though. No, we didn't. So we're good there. But now we have to try to negotiate with some players that really don't want to stay here. For Zeke, a franchise tag would end up being about 15 mil a season. Or for this season, it would be 17.8 mil this season. So that is a big chunk to pay. Want to see... Hankins honestly didn't regress very much. Maybe by 1 overall. And then Carey also didn't regress very much. We do have a safety in the draft that I would like to pick up. But there's also a lot of these guys that don't have a lot of interest in. So I'm going to make a quick note of who all is leaving so I can make some offers to them in the open free agency. So I'll just do that real quick and then try to offer some of these other guys who haven't told us no. And all right, got those players written down. Let's start with the expensive one here with Zeke Elliott. We will be franchise tagging him. Hopefully have a better season next year, so he will want to stay around. As for these other guys, we've offered some pretty decent contracts, and they just really haven't wanted to re-sign. So let's go with a player-friendly 2-year deal here, about 1.6, and he will test. So Hudson will be added to the list as well. Brett Kern did not end up retiring, so nor really regressing very much, so we could offer him as well. And sure, let's make it a 2-year deal, just maybe he will stay. And yes, we will keep our punter. Hopefully we won't have to use him as much next year, but he'll at least stay. What about Jonathan Hankins? I would like a short deal with him. 2 years, 5 mil wouldn't be awful. And he will stay with us, so that is good. We need some help in the DT position. We're not very good in our depth there. Cody Thompson is 27 years old. What if we go with just a player-friendly 2-year, 1.1, no guarantee? He will stay around as well. Now for TJ Carey, who will most likely end up being a backup for us. We'll offer him the 2-year deal just because this seems to be the only way to get players to stick around, and he will sign. So we at least have a safety if someone ends up scooping up the guy that we need out from under us, but everyone else not interested, we will try to re-sign them in open free agency. But as for our own players, that part is now done. And now we actually get a chance to take a look at some of the combine results from our players here. So we don't have a lot of quarterback options. Kevin Ramsey is potentially one of the highest rated of those, and would like to have someone who could move around a little bit, running a 4.93 though. That doesn't seem like he's going to have much speed, so wouldn't necessarily fit. But he has some good throw on the run, throw under pressure. Accuracies are okay to start off with, and his throw power is decent, which decent is slightly below average. I would assume maybe like 84, 83. So definitely a backup. We have Woodside on roster still, I believe, so something there. Still need to try to complete the scouting on Rashawn Holiday, but he is pretty much one of our only actual draftable kind of players here. And for him, we have a 4.55, which isn't too bad, with a bench press of 22 reps at receiver is solid. He can jump. Yeah, he could jump. He's not very quick. He doesn't have good acceleration or agility by the look of it, so I think more of maybe a physical type of receiver. So catching traffic, A catching, A run block, which is interesting, A short route, 8 spec catch, and then B release with C medium route running and deep route running being a B. So honestly looks solid with good size as well. We could use some help at receiver. Curtis Samuel really struggled to stay healthy throughout the year, so not too bad there. I am very curious in finding out the speed of the safety, Jonathan Sapp. And he ran a 4.52, which isn't awful for safety. And he had the second and third best 20-yard shuttle and 3-cone drill. So he has elite agility with good acceleration. Jumping, he was first. So really good potential there to get some turnovers. Catching, do we have that? Yeah, A catching. Looks like a potential player here that could force some turnovers. He'll most likely be our first pick. In terms of the overall draft here, let's see where some of these guys are falling. Obviously, we have the free safety and the receiver, and I don't know when we're picking yet, but probably pretty high up. So looking to see when one of our guys pops up here, as they're around 1 to 2, and the first is actually Rashawn Holiday, expected to go at 25. So I don't know. We'll see if we end up having to actually trade up in the draft. Where is the free safety? Jonathan Sapp down at 35. So potentially he could still be around for our second pick, but I want to make sure we get him because we'll definitely need a starter with TJ Carey now being 33 years old and 71 overall. I would like to get some young guys in there. But let's start off by looking at all of the free agencies here. First one up, Mark Andrews, really good tight end, but we don't really need that. Also, Vita Vea, nor could we use him. Again, can only sign players who played at school from Ohio, but some really high overall guys available. Andrews, Vea, Marlon Humphreys, Ryan Ramczyk available. Michael Thomas we could bring in. He is an Ohio State player, so I don't think we need to with a receiver in the draft, but there's a possibility. Brian Burns available, Trayvon Diggs, Mike Williams, Mike Gesicki, some really, really good guys available here. Unfortunately, not all of them are going to be available for us to pick up, so it is what it is. But let's go through and try to find some players that we could potentially actually sign. And unfortunately, really only seems like the players that you would really want to go for in the round one here for the offseason, because if you're not sure, the stage 1 of free agency could only offer 3 contracts. And they're all really at positions we don't really need to offer. There's Michael Thomas, who obviously receiver, Ohio State, as well as Paris Campbell, receiver from Ohio State. And with that receiver in the draft as well, I really don't feel like we need to sign either of these guys. I feel like we're pretty solid. I mean, you could consider maybe offering Paris Campbell with the speed, but Michael Thomas, I don't feel like we really need. I mean, he's good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like with already having 2 guys who were rookies last year, picking up another one, you want to see them progress. And I'm not sure bringing in either of these other guys really would end up doing very much. So I think this first round is really not much for us to do. We just want to sign some guys later, and those are going to be stage 3 kind of players. So I think it pretty much we'll just need to jump to then, as none of the big name guys at positions of need are available for us. And now in stage 3, where we have unlimited offers, I did go in stage 2 and just offer some people that were on the list or people that I saw pop up, like Trey Sermon, who actually had some interest in us, but I don't believe there's been anyone else who's actually offered anything. And I don't know if these checks mean that people actually signed or not. It's confusing. But we did make offers for everyone here. So Trey Sermon, Josiah DeGuara, he would not be a starter at tight end for us. Ruckert will maintain that starting spot. But these are guys I figured were available, would at least help us get a little bit better in the backup department. So offered them, then offered a lot of the backups that told us no earlier. So we have 9 on there, but I definitely offered some other people. So I guess some other ones signed. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this new look for free agency. It seems difficult to find out if we got the offers or what, really. Or if people just straight up said no. It's weird. When I do go over to the targeted menu, it does still have James Hudson here. And I did offer him this week, so maybe if we didn't sign people, then they would show up here. I'm not exactly sure how it works. But if I go over to our roster, Trey Sermon is on the roster. So I guess if they do pop up with that check, that means that they are on the roster. So we did end up getting Trey Sermon. So we have a higher quality backup, which means Mike Boone won't be out there as much. Possibly might not even make the final team. We'll see what ends up happening. I just want to run through the rest of the roster here. I did clean up anyone that popped up that wasn't actually on an Ohio team, because Madden will add them to your practice squad, then they get added to your team. I'm pretty sure I offered Paris Campbell, and I don't see him here, so he did not sign. So we are sticking with the pretty much same receiving core that we had last year. At tight end, we do have Josiah in. Ruckert will definitely be getting the start, so no need to worry about that. He had a tremendous first season, led us in yards, possibly touchdowns as well. So he'll definitely be staying around. And now Luke Farrell as well as Morris will be fighting for that third tight end spot. Yeah, seems like everyone that popped up on that screen, we did actually sign. Really wish that there was, like in Madden 22, when you were on the main screen, it popped up on this left-hand side. Player signed, player rejected, or accepted, whatever the lingo ended up being. Yeah, not a big fan of that new sign free agent period. Maybe see if there's any more scouting. I didn't see anything pop up to select anyone for specialized scouting during the offseason. And apparently that is during the offseason recap period. So let's go ahead and select some workouts. I know for sure I definitely want that receiver. I want to make sure we know as much as possible with him as we can. Craig Richmond also would like to know a little bit more about, as he seems to have some pretty decent ratings, at least for the top 4 to that right-hand side over there. And then we'll just need to find one more player. We definitely could use some help on the defensive line, so maybe I'll see if I could find some D linemen that will help us out a little bit. And there really wasn't much for the defensive linemen, but Timmy Washington seems interesting with A to C awareness, A impact block, D pass block, not great, but C to F run block could possibly be all right. And considering there's not much else to scout, those 3 will be our selected. Mainly Rayshon Holiday is who we're looking for some information on. But that is about as much as we could do from here. It's time to jump over to the next week, which is draft week. Now into the draft week, we find out that Rayshon Holiday is actually a projected top 5 player, which means we have to go after him with our first pick for sure. 6'2", 220, 22 years old, out of Ohio State, runs between a 4.55 and a 4.53. He has a lot of strength. He can jump. He has good broad jump as well. Not extremely good agility wise, has okay acceleration, but we take a look at these skills. C awareness needs to get better, but B break tackle, B carrying, A catching traffic, A catching, B deep route running, C medium route running, B release with A run block, A short route, A spec catch, A stiff arm. This guy looks solid. He'll definitely be, I would assume, definitely a physical archetype, and that's not something we necessarily have in our starting 3, so I think Rayshawn Holiday might be our first pick, and then maybe trade up, maybe see what falls with the safety, Jonathan Sapp, who is an actual round 1, so both of them moved up. As for the other guys we took a look at, Timmy Washington was 1 as a projected undrafted, so maybe a late round pick. But with him, we have A impact block, C awareness is pretty decent, C lead block, D pass block is concerning, C pass block finesse, D run block, so not spectacular, but maybe someone we pick up after the draft. We also had Craig Richmond, who we do find out is still a potential undrafted, and he's young though, 21 years old. Is he strong? 31 to 32 reps is not awful. At center is pretty decent. Has really good lead block and impact block, both at A, B run block, but then the other ratings leave a bit to be desired. But I still think that's someone we maybe target in like the 6th, 7th round, just to make sure we get him. But let's start this draft. We are picking 4th. I don't want to trade up, and I don't believe our guys should go before then. But I do want to go ahead and pause, and we could take a quick look at the board just to make sure that there is no significant changes in where the guys we are looking to go for are going. So they still have Rayshawn Holiday down at 25, which is fine by me. I actually have him going up 24 spots, so they say that he's the number 2 guy. So we'll definitely be going for him early. We'll maybe see if we trade down, pick up something extra to maybe help us try to make sure we get the safety as well. And the safety they have at 35. So that's putting it a bit close to where our picks are. Second round, we have the 4th pick, but that would be the 36th pick. So we might end up needing to have 2 first-round picks. But we'll see when we get there. We want to make sure that the receiver doesn't end up going before we make any sort of trade. So let's jump on over to the next pick. First pick in the draft is Eric Pamphil, a left tackle out of Oklahoma State. The Vikings then go with quarterback Alex Castro out of Duke. Texans go left end Ben Pleasant out of Iowa. Now let's see what the trade offers are for us. We know the receiver isn't going to go extremely early, but definitely can. And we have some first round picks that we could drop back a little bit and pick up some things with. I would like to pick up some earlier things with, though. With Chicago offering some mid-round picks, not going to help us out. Mid-round picks next year from the Titans. Drop down to 12 and pick up a current 2. And that's pick 34, so that is possible. That might help us just get the safety, but I would honestly like something a little bit more secure with that. Plus a 4th round pick in the future. Seahawks drop back a couple spots, pick up some future picks, some more future picks. Well, a future pick as well as a later second. Drop all the way down and pick up a current 2 and a future 1. That's not going to help us out much. I don't really like any of these in terms of helping us achieve our goal. We know the guy that we want, Rayshawn Holiday, is a top 5 player. We're picking 4. So I think it's time to make our selection. Go with a player that we know is supposed to go in this area, and then we'll just have to make a move possibly with our 2nd round pick to make sure we lock down that safety as well. But for right now, we got to go best available, and that is Rayshawn Holiday. And he is selected, only a normal dev. A bit disappointed there, but 91 acceleration is better than I thought, with decent agility and change of direction. 92 jumping, solid. 89 speed isn't bad, with 74 strength. We have a solid guy here. Was really hoping for a possible superstar, maybe X Factor, but either way, solid receiver for us. Now, in terms of safeties, specifically free safeties, there are a couple round 1s. There are also a few Oh wait, no, that's corners, my bad. Still a few more strong safeties as well. So we'll go ahead as planned with each draft pick going, and I'll keep an eye out for if anyone goes for a free safety. Then as soon as hopefully Cameron Whitehead goes and not Jonathan Sapp, we move up and we pick Jonathan Sapp, because I don't want to lose out on him. We need him. So let's move on cautiously. And with the 17th pick in the first round, the Bills end up selecting Cameron Whitehead, free safety. So now I feel like we might need to try to trade up just again to make sure we get our guy. I really would hate to lose out on him. We know he's a round one. We're sitting about mid first round. So let's try to make something happen here with the Giants. And we obviously know we're going to be giving up our second round pick. So I'm just going to hit submit here just because I want to see roughly where we're at. And we're about midway. So we need to find something else that we can give the Giants. And they need a center, right tackle, left guard, left tackle, and quarterback. I don't believe we have a whole lot to offer in terms of offensive linemen. We might need to double down with some picks and give them maybe a second and a 4 next year as well. Again, moving back up about midway through the first round. You're going to need to offer a good bit, and we're close with the second and 4th. We might need to make it 2nd and 3, or possibly offer the 4th this year. And that gets us a little bit closer, but definitely looks like they're looking for a higher overall pick. So 3rd round is the best we could do. I want to make sure we keep a 1st round pick next year, and we're still not there. For the only thing left that I think I could do would be offer a future 1. But if I'm doing that, I don't want to offer some of these other picks as well. I do think we'd offer this current 2, because they wouldn't have anything for this year. And then maybe a late round pick next year might do it. I would hate to give up the 1, but we have to do what we have to do, and that'll work. And that means we can go get our safety in Jonathan Sapp. He's a round 1 guy, so we're taking him where he's supposed to be. Is he a hidden dev? He is, so that makes it a bit more worth it. He's going to come in with 90 acceleration, 92 agility, 91 jumping, 88 speed. Not too bad. Strength is a bit lower, but we know he's definitely a free safety. With my free safeties, I don't need a strong, big guy back there who's going to lay the hit. I need a guy that can cover and get to where the ball is thrown and break things up. If he could get some turnovers too, that will be great. But now our board is full of potential undrafted guys. There's no one else left that we know is draftable. There was a day 3 Kevin Ramsey, but we know he's potential undrafted. So I don't think there's anyone we necessarily need to go after. Not even Craig Richmond or anything like that, even though I said possibly 6th or 7th round pick. What I think we do instead is find maybe a trade here to trade away the rest of our picks. A 4th, 6th, and a 7 for one player that we think could be an impact come day 1 of their new regular season. So let's see if we can find that player. And the one player I found that I think would make sense with what we have to offer is Devon Hamilton. 6'4", 320, 26 years old, out of Ohio State. He is primarily a run stopper, and with Hankins getting a bit older, I would like to get younger, stay ahead of that curve. And he has a lot of strength. He has decent play rec and awareness. He could tackle as well, with pretty good injury stamina. It's not great, but not very many linemen are. I think he is a possible player that we could get for what we have to offer. So let's see if the Raiders are interested. Like I said, we'll be offering the last remaining picks that we have. They're all red, but they still might be interested in the trade. And it works. We have ourselves a new defensive tackle. So our draft day is done. We could go ahead and skip to the end of the draft. Not going to be trading back in. There wasn't anyone draftable for us. We still might be picking up some of those undrafted players, as they could be practice squad caliber guys. Might even let us cut, depending on how good they are, some of those young, or not really younger necessarily, but lower overall guys that we had to offer quite a lot of money to get them to stay with the team. So I will run through the remaining free agents. If I find any Cincinnati, Ohio State, Ohio, any player from the state of Ohio, we will bring them in and see what we can do. But before we go to the open free agency, let's take a look at the draft recap and see how the two guys we brought in actually are. And with our first pick, we bring in a 77 overall Rashawn Holiday. And with our second pick in the draft, later in the first round, mid-first round, we get Jonathan Sapp, who is a 74 overall. Already Sapp is a higher overall than what we had in Carey, so that is great to see. Let's take a look at each of these players. Wearing number 16 is Holiday. It's not a bad number. See how he looks out on the field, but like we said, exactly what we imagined. He's going to be a physical archetype. He has good release to start off with, which our younger receivers, Wilson and Olave, they didn't have great release. So Rashawn Holiday will go straight to playing on the outside, and Wilson and Olave will still kind of battle to see who gets the slot and who plays on the outside. But I feel like this is still a solid receiver to get. Has decent ability after the catch as well, with okay injury, a little concerning down at 87. That's even with the boost as well. So need to make sure he stays healthy. That's one of the reasons that Curtis Samuel is now dropping to the 4th receiver spot. So hopefully he could stay healthy, but 22 years old will be great for us moving forward with this challenge. Again, need to win a Super Bowl by the end of year 5. Jonathan Sapp, wearing number 30. That makes sense for the Bengals. Hidden dev trait, we'll find out what that is at some point this season. And he already has a negative morale affecting him. So some of these ratings lower than what they will be, or should be. So he actually comes in with 75 zone, 65 man, with 81 pursuit. So not too bad. 88 speed, 90 acceleration, 80 hit power. He could actually hit pretty well. So he should be able to jar some balls loose. With 72 catching, should be able to pick the ball off, but with balanced play ball tendency, we'll see how often he tries to do that. Considering it's primarily sim, we won't be in charge of if we're telling him to pick the ball off or swat the ball away. But either way, 2 good gets for us, and the only options really to draft in this first draft class. So with that look done, let's go see if we can find any more remaining players available to us. And I did find some more players in the free agent market, some undrafted rookies, some that were already part of the original Madden roster. Now I didn't sign everybody. Kind of had a cutoff if they were 28, 29 or older, didn't re-sign, or if they were under 60 overall, I didn't sign. So let's run through and meet some of the new guys, and we possibly have a new backup quarterback, an undrafted rookie out of Ohio, Chris LaRubio. He's coming in 22 years old with a 4 higher overall over Logan Woodside. But when we compare them, they're fairly similar-ish. So speed rating is the same, about the same acceleration. Much less agility, though, and change of direction, but higher strength. Awareness, about the same. Throw power rating is a much better improvement. Short throw accuracy, good bit better, but less medium accuracy and less deep accuracy. Throw on the run, a bit better. Throw under pressure, a lot worse. And break sack, a little bit better with about the same play action. And carrying rating, a little bit lower. So, very similar. Obviously, as I've mentioned, we're going to err on the side of youth, guys that can develop. So Logan Woodside might not end up making that final roster. We might carry 3 quarterbacks, but Chris LaRubio, he might have made his shot here at being a backup quarterback in the NFL. At running back, we did find a couple guys. Obviously, we signed Trey Sermon. Not sure now what we do with Mike Boone. Do we keep him around? Do we cut him? There would be a penalty, of course, if we do cut him, because he has a penalty of 2.7 mil if we cut. So various things that we could do. We also found a undrafted rookie out of Akron in Josie Love. And with Josie, we have decent size, a little bit on the shorter side, but good weight, a little bit older for a rookie at 23, and he has okay speed, good acceleration, has some juke, change of direction. He's a receiving running back, really good catching and short route running ratings. So potential guy to maybe try to work in if we get that aspect, might just be a practice squad caliber player. Now, there is a low overall running back that I found that I am very much interested in, and because of that, might end up cutting someone like Michael Warren. Maybe Jared Dokes even loses his spot as well. Maybe we try to trade him for like a future 7th, considering that there is a penalty there. But Ben Pierce is very intriguing to me. 6'10", 223, 22 years old, out of Bowling Green State. And with him, you have a 90 speed guy with decent acceleration at 87, who has both trucking and elusive ability. Catching is all right. He seems very intriguing to me, and I would love to keep him on roster and just see what he can do. As for offensive line, we did find Thayer Munford, which I feel like I traded at some point. I don't remember cutting him, being the fact he's 23, so we brought him back. We don't have any spectacular depth offensive linemen, but we brought in what was available. We did find rookie Randall Brown, undrafted rookie out of Toledo, 6'3", 333, and with him we have primarily a developmental person. He's not particularly great in anything, a better run blocker than pass blocker. But again, nothing spectacular. Most likely will be a practice squad guy. But bringing in young offensive line talent is important because that's the only way that they're going to get any better. And there's not a whole... We honestly have a very old starting offensive line. So we need to find ways to get younger. We also found undrafted rookie Lindsey Watts, who's going to come in at a 66 overall. He is 6'5", 332 out of Ohio, 23 years old. And with him, we have, again, a much better run blocker than pass blocker. Might move him down to a guard spot just because of that. But he has some strength. He has a little bit of lead block. Definitely can improve, but he's coming in pretty much as our number 2 backup offensive lineman. So solid there. We also found Timmy Washington available, one of the guys that we had the focus scouting on. 6'4", 305, 22 years old out of Ohio State. And with him, again, another developmental guy. We have some balanced ratings. Pass block finesse is the best rating for his passing or for his blocking, besides lead block and impact block. So probably practice squad, but not awful. Plus, 22 years old, he's young, so that helps us out a bit. We did find an undrafted end in Frank Thomas, 6'6", 270, 21 years old out of Toledo. And with him, you really just have a power rusher. There's not much else there. No block shedding, no finesse moves. Probably a practice squad player, but is someone we could try to develop for a couple years, see how he does. He's starting at a 65 overall, so not awful. And when we compare him to the rest of the squad, Jalen Holmes actually played pretty well for us last year. Maybe we try trading before we start the season, or maybe when the season starts, somewhere around there, depending, as we have some younger guys, similar overalls that we want to get out there. Still, Frank Thomas might end up on the practice squad. As for defensive tackles, we traded for Devon Hamilton. He's going to come in as a 78 overall with the boost from our coaching staff. So right now, boost him up to a 95 strength, 78 block shedding. We'll probably try to go for some more block shedding pretty early on with our staff points as well. So we get an upgrade at DT. That means Jonathan Hankins, we're not quite sure what we're going to do with him. Being 31 years old, could again possibly be some trade bait. As we look over at the block shedding, Togiai is better, 77, with the strength being about the same between the two. So again, erring on the side of youth, I think Jonathan Hankins becomes expendable for us. Then, of course, at free safety, we brought in Jonathan Sapp in the draft. He's coming in, again, highest overall. When we compare him to Carey, who was our starter last year, we get a little bit more speed, a little bit more acceleration, a good jump of agility. Awareness coming in the exact same. Play rec is a little bit lower for our rookie. Man coverage is, again, a bit lower. Zone just a bit lower. Press is a bit lower, but that's because Carey used to be a corner. Honestly, we could possibly move him back to corner, but I don't think we need him out there. But we do have the boost in catching and a little bit in tackling, so plus he could get a lot better. 22 years old. So that is the roster as it is. We brought in some young guys today. Not necessarily all will make the final playing roster. Some will be practice squad players. I believe most of the guys we brought in today will end up making the roster again, whether it's 53-man or practice squad. But a lot-ish has changed as more of the backups have changed. Brought in a couple new splash players. Going to have Rayshawn, I think it was Rayshawn Holiday will be a starter. He will be over Curtis Samuel playing on the outside. And then over on defense, brought in the new free safety and Jonathan Sapp, as well as trading for Davon Hamilton at DT. So we're getting better. Hopefully we'll have a better year this next year, as defense will start off as an 80, offense as an 81. So good things happened, and we did pretty much as best as we could with what we had available to us. We could have tried to make crazy trades, send a bunch of 1s and 2s to teams to get like Nick Bosa or Chase Young, but that's just not realistic. I would love to bring those guys in at some point if they become available, or if we end up having a really bad draft class and we just send all of our picks to bring in some guys, especially if we're making a final push in like year 3, 4, or 5. So they could definitely become part of the team in the future, but I think we did pretty good with what we had available to us. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, as well as making sure you stick around by hitting that subscription button as well. I think I already said as well, but as well, and taking that bell notification to be notified of when these videos go live. This state-only series posted every Wednesday and Saturday. Our traditional Cardinals franchise posted every Monday and Thursday, so check that out if you haven't already. And until next time, for the start of the regular season, we'll see you later. Bye.